So, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking this late 2026 budget panic and translating it into a highly actionable engineering roadmap. If you're a technical program manager, a lead dev, or literally anyone managing an AI budget right now, consider this your step-by-step guide to slashing inference costs by up to 90% and doing it without sacrificing an ounce of output quality.
Okay, let's quickly hit our battle plan for today. First, the cost crisis itself. Then, Phase 1, immediate quick wins. Phase 2, API-level upgrades. Phase 3, enterprise infrastructure. And finally, compounding savings and caveats.
Now, keep in mind, this isn't just a grab bag of random tips. Think of this as a chronological sprint guide. We'll move from the low-effort, high-return dev habits you can enforce this week, all the way up to the heavy architectural fleet changes you'll want to tackle this quarter.
Let's start with Section 1, the 2026 AI cost crisis.
We really need to unpack exactly why your API invoices are suddenly exploding. Because it's not just that your team is magically writing more code. 3 massive market forces collided this year. First, agentic coding tools resend the entire conversation transcript on every single turn. That means your token consumption grows quadratically with the session length. It spirals fast. Second, providers are heavily pushing premium reasoning models like Opus 4.7 and GPT 5.4, which cost 5 to 10 times more than the mid-tier options. And third, flat-rate subscriptions are dead. GitHub is moving all Copilot plans to usage-based AI credits on June 1st, so every wasted token is going straight to your invoice.
Moving to Phase 1, immediate quick wins. So, what can we do this week? Context hygiene. It's simple, but it's devastatingly effective in Claude code. Because of that quadratic token growth we just talked about, heavy users are easily hitting $500 to $2,000 a month. But you can literally halt this with 3 basic dev habits. First, run/clear when switching tasks. Just do it. It's your biggest cost lever. Second, use /compact at natural phase boundaries to compress the context. And third, absolutely cap your Claude.md file under 5,000 tokens. Remember, a 5,000 tokens rules file gets charged on every single message turn, whether you send 2 messages or 200.
But here is the absolute single highest return move any API team can make right now. Turn on provider prompt caching. Both Anthropic and OpenAI now cache stable prompt prefixes server-side. OpenAI actually gives you an automatic 50% discount on cached inputs over 1,024 tokens. You don't even need to change your code. Anthropic requires a quick opt-in via a cache_control marker, and while the initial write costs a tiny bit more, the cache reads give you a massive 90% discount. The trick? Put your stable content, like system instructions and tool schemas, first, and put the dynamic user content last.
Now, Phase 2, API level upgrades.
Over the next month, you need to evaluate your architectural timing, specifically contrasting synchronous workloads with batch workloads. If the next step in your pipeline can wait up to 24 hours, push it through Anthropic or OpenAI's Batch API. Yes, you give up streaming, and yes, you give up instant error recovery, but in exchange, you get a clean 50% discount on both input and output tokens. Think about your evaluation suites, offline RAG indexing, or nightly code analysis. If a team moves even 70% of a $5,000 workload to batch, the blended rate drops roughly 35%.
Next up for your monthly sprint, structured outputs. Enforcing strict JSON schemas isn't just about making your data machine parsable anymore, it's an aggressive cost-saving tool. Forcing structured outputs actively strips away all that verbose, expensive AI rambling. You know, when the model politely says, "Sure, I'd be happy to help you with that code," before actually giving you the code, you're paying for that. Schemas cut output tokens by 30 to 50% on coding and extraction tasks. Plus, they completely eliminate the cost of retrying prompts just because you got malformed JSON. On to Phase 3, enterprise infrastructure. This is the quarterly heavy lift. You absolutely must implement model cascading. Do not use frontier models for routine work. You've got to map out a tiered model strategy. Reserve your ultra-expensive premium models like Opus 4.7 strictly for complex architecture or brutal cross-system debugging. Route the vast majority of your daily code work to default models like Sonnet 4.6. And what about routine classification or just simple formatting? Push that all the way down to Haiku 4.5, or open-weight models like DeepSeek V4 Flash, which literally costs pennies on the dollar. Switching a simple task from Sonnet down to DeepSeek saves 80 to 95% on that specific slice of traffic.
And beyond just caching the prompt prefix like we talked about earlier, your infrastructure needs semantic caching.
Semantic caching stores the actual responses keyed by the embedding similarity of the input. So if a new query is semantically similar enough to an old query, usually a cosine similarity of 0.8 or higher, you just serve the cached answer. The cost of hitting the LLM for that request drops to absolute zero. And research shows that roughly 31% of total queries in typical LLM workloads are repetitive.
But here is the hard truth of the enterprise phase. You cannot optimize what you cannot see. Observability is the strict prerequisite for any of this cost control. You need tools to track per user and per feature dollar attribution. Tools like Helicone offer a really fast proxy integration. LangFuse gives you an awesome self-hostable open source option for complex agent tracing. And LightLM acts as a gateway to track spend directly by API key. You need these to set budget alerts, monitor cache hit rates, and actually build the kill switches to block developers from using expensive models on basic tasks.
Finally, Section 5, Compounding Savings and Caveats.
Let's start with the baseline to see how this all stacks up. This is the horrifying starting point, paying 100% of the retail cost for a complex agentic workflow. This right here is exactly where those $2,000 per engineer bills are coming from. But watch what happens. According to published benchmarks from Project Discovery's Neo agent, simply turning on prompt caching correctly causes that cumulative cost to immediately plummet to 41%. Think about that. Just one single, well-implemented technique slices the bill by over half.
And here's where the implementation really compounds. When you layer in those bash APIs for your async tasks, force structured outputs to trim all the conversational fat, and place a semantic cache in front to catch the 30% of repetitive queries, your final cost drops below 10% of the retail baseline. You are stacking a 100% discount on semantic hits, with a 90% discount on prompt caching reads, compounded by a 50% discount on batching. It is massive.
But as technical leaders, we have to talk about the reality here, the caveats. None of this is magic, it's engineering, which means there are always trade-offs. First up, model routing adds latency, anywhere from 3 to 40 milliseconds depending on your gateway setup. Second, you really need to beware of tokenizer inflation. Claude Opus 4.7's tokenizer actually generates up to 35% more tokens for the exact same input text compared to older models, which invisibly inflates your effective cost. And finally, while open-weight models like Qwen or DeepSeek look incredibly cheap on paper, self-hosting them requires expensive GPUs and dedicated operational headcount. Honestly, for under 1 million requests a month, managed APIs usually still win on total cost of ownership.
So we'll leave you with this final thought. The free ride of infinite LLM usage in the IDE, it's over. But as we've just seen, combining context hygiene, caching, routing, and batching can easily cut your blended costs by 60 to 90%. Teams that take this actionable step-by-step playbook and implement it are going to thrive. Teams that ignore it are going to be having some very, very uncomfortable conversations with finance. Based on the engineering habits you're enforcing right now, will your 2026 invoice look anything like your 2025 budget? It is time to start optimizing.